welcome Felix
Thank
from Karevo.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming for the AI Plus Munich podcast. You are revolutionizing potato sorting with AI.
Yes, we hope so.
You hope so?
Yeah.
You're not really sure yet that you're successful?
Yeah, I am sure that we are going to be successful. And actually, Johannes and Benedict, the other two co-founders of Karevo, they're currently setting up our first machine at a dealer near the Dutch border. And so it gets a bit more serious now. So our customers can have a look at the machine. And so we are entering a bit of a different stage. But the machine is running well, and so I'm very positive that we will manage to do so. I just said I hope so because I know that founding a startup is always connected to all kinds of challenges that you didn't really or that you can't really anticipate, and so hope is always necessary. Not only skill or whatever, but also a bit of hope. And so yeah.
Trust and hope. These are things that we can talk about later. First of all, congratulations for setting up your machine. Now, for the people listening to us, what is your machine? Explain to us, what do you actually do? Like I said, like automation with AI, you're revolutionizing. That's a bit of broad.
Mm-hmm.
Explain it to me. What are you doing?
So we have a machine that sorts or grades potatoes and can detect defects on the surface of potatoes. And when you have table potatoes, basically table potatoes are the ones that you eat freshly, not processed, before a farmer sells them, or let's say after the farmer has stored them. The farmer will sort these potatoes and will sort out and throw away or put them in a biogas plant or feed them to animals. The potatoes that have defects, that have maybe a wormhole, that maybe are damaged, that are rotten, that are green, all these things, and we can detect it. And the way that this is currently done on small and medium scale farms, potato farms, is to do manual sorting. So people look at the potatoes and sort them by hand. There are already machines on the market for bigger farms or processes, and the special thing about our machine is that it is significantly cheaper than the machines that are already on the market. So we can serve a market segment that has not been served before. So we can focus on small and medium scale potato farms.
That's really cool because AI as an enabling technology, it is something you hear a lot, and you're doing it like make it available, scalable on a smaller scale, which is super, super nice. You said we. Who is we?
We is Benedict. Benedict grew up on a potato farm in Donauwörth.
Very cool.
And he actually came up with the idea.
Mm-hmm.
He's a mechanical engineer. He wrote his master's thesis about this topic, developed a rough proof of concept during this thesis. And then he was on the lookout for a co-founder, and he knew that Johannes is an electrical engineer with a very strong software engineering background. And these two, they met each other during band practice. They both play music in a band. They both come from Donauwörth in Bavaria, and so they have been known each other for a while. And then they were looking for a third person, and so then they found me. And because I did an MBA at the TU Munich on innovation and business creation, I actually was I knew the necessary channels of the Munich ecosystem to find opportunities to join others to found a startup, and this is more or less how we found each other.
Really cool. What kind of music? What kind of band?
I don't know the English term, Blechblas.
Oh my, very Bavarian style. What is this in English? I don't really know. Brass.
I think a brass band. That's the English term. And Benedict is actually a conductor of the band, and he plays the the trombone. Johannes plays the saxophone. Actually, also play an instrument, the bass, but not in a brass band.
Okay.
So, but this is how they met. Yeah.
I really have to say, this sounds like a no-brainer to me that you're going to be successful. You have all the cliches that Germany is strong about: high-end engineering, detailed in automation, and going really on the topic, and potatoes. That's you have to be just putting stuff.
The most German startup of all time.
I think so. You have actually to compete with another one here in Bavaria that's about beer brewing to make it more efficient.
Okay.
I think you're on my top list of Bavarian startups that are really, really.
But we work in the workshop of the TU Munich in Freising, and we are surrounded by beer and mini breweries. So maybe we have a bit of beer as part of us too. Maybe it counts.
It does, definitely. Beers and potatoes. There's something I want to ask you later, what kind of crop you might go into next. Then this could be something, actually. Okay, so when did you actually start as a startup then? When did you see yourself like going from like a date or something? Yeah, when you stopped from the, hey, let's go through the idea, let's start doing something.
So maybe the start of our Exist funding is a good date where you could say we actually started working on the idea full time. Before it was more a part-time idea, and that was in October 2023. And this is when we started to receive the Exist funds. Yeah, so almost 1.5 years now.
Okay, yeah. So you're basically waiting for something that makes you think, hey, we get money for it. This is something we can go into. What is this bit of the kicker? Another idea before?
I mean, the idea before was already there, and the Benedict and Johannes, they worked on it. They worked on it without me, or just the two of them. They already won a competition, had a bit of money, but to be able to actually develop a machine like the one we did takes quite some time, and it's not that easy. We do everything we do edge computing, edge AI, so we have backend development, front-end development. We develop the system that we work on, so we adjust the operating system. So everything has to be set up, and that's quite some tasks. And receiving the Exist Gründerstipendium, the scholarship, was very important to do that, to be able to work full time on that.
There's a real dedication when you go into a hardware startup. That's something I realized here as well. Like, it's really hard to go to a topic. Did you try to figure out maybe we can do it in software standalone, or was it always sure you need a hardware application?
It was almost always sure that we had. Well, we try to exclude a bit the hardware now. So we try to become actually a software startup, because we the construction of the machine itself, let's say the hardware, we will hand over to the dealers that we will work with. And these dealers, they're the ones that are the dealers who sell agricultural equipment. They are not only dealers, but they're usually also very competent in metal processing, manufacturing. So they will do that, and they also have the better contacts to the customers, and we will provide them with our software and, let's say, the whole vision system. This is what we will provide them with, and the construction plans.
Yeah. Okay, very nice. So we now know what you do, who you are. Let's figure out your early stage of prototyping, challenges. How was your journey in figuring out what to actually do? Yeah, like, okay, we need this kind of machine. Was it very sketched out from the beginning that you knew where you were heading? Or how was your journey in that regard?
Yeah, so the journey was, I mean, sometimes it was total chaos. We had an idea where we want to go. We more or less knew the goal, where we want to end up. But we didn't know how to get there. For example, on a technical level, we thought we could do everything with object detection. So then we started with object detection, which is a type of how to a specific type in computer vision, and how an AI model detects something. Then we thought we could go into, we use classification models. Then we actually thought about, no, yeah, I mean, everything worked more or less, but it didn't work the way we wanted it to work. And then we ended up with segmentation models, and it took us some time to realize what we actually, which method we should use, and that's only one example. There are other examples on where we also struggled. For example, the sorting mechanism, how we will actually sort out the potatoes. How we started with a robot arm from Epson, and then we saw, okay, it's not working out. We need a different design, and this also took quite some time.
So currently it's in the conveyor belt situation, like with sorting, or did you add something?
So the conveyor belt, it's a rolling conveyor. So this is something that the farms have already, and we can put our machine on top of these conveyor belts. And we now have fingers sorting out the potatoes. Fingers, yeah, but this is also something that many other companies do. It's not something new. What is new in our machine is, let's say, the concept, the retrofittability of the machine, and the technology that we apply. But the mechanism behind it, using fingers that are powered by pneumatic systems from Festo at the moment, is not really something new. I would say that the innovation lies more in the concept of the machine, and also when I look at the other companies selling potato sorting machines, it also lies in our focus that we actually chose now is on the software only. Most of the other companies that we know, they also do the hardware part, so this is also a bit different.
Yeah. Okay, the main challenge that you described was a bit of a technological one. Yeah, I guess you didn't like the results that you screened yourself.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah. How much did you implement feedback from your potential customer base, from actual farmers that you were trying your prototype with? Did it work out at the beginning, or did you just start it with that? How's your process?
So we were very lucky because Benedict comes from a potato farm. His family is still running this farm, so we could always test the machine in real world conditions, and we did that regularly. Or like every a few months, we went back to the farm and tested it. So we had the feedback, and then at the end of last year, 2024, we started actually going out to other farmers and to dealers to get their feedback from of the machine, and that is very helpful and helps to focus. Yeah.
Did you find a bit of a difference between the farm of your co-founder and the other ones? Because I imagine that it could be a bit of biased in regard of one solution if other farms work differently, especially if they are very small. Yeah. Did you or do you realize, hey, it's actually the same thing?
So we realized, yes, the pain is the same. They all have the same pain. However, depending on what a farmer does with the potatoes, the requirements are slightly different, and so this was one of the main outcomes. So bigger farms have even bigger, as in 30 or 40 hectares. They already have slightly different requirements and than smaller ones, and finding like identifying a reasonable price for the machine was also very crucial.
The pricing models is always an issue.
Yeah, and so I would say the feedback from other farmers was not that different to the ones from Benedict's family, but we got more aspects or more different aspects because we had a broader sample of farms than only the farm of Benedict's parents.
I imagine it's super helpful to ask different farmers for the future to sell to them. Yeah, like building already your customer base. Would you recommend to do so?
Going out to talk to customers?
Well, of course, I guess that's something you should not do it.
Yeah.
So it's very. But the thing is, like, do you think you would have been faster in developing your solution if you had gone outside earlier? I think you're in a very special position with the super insight and actual farm at your disposal?
I think not really, because we had many technological challenges. It was, and I don't know if we would have been faster talking to more farmers. I think that was not the challenge. The challenge were technological ones most.
Specifically AI challenges, like finding out the model. This was one thing, but do you think it's more like a general approach, like the hardware aspect, for instance?
Everything.
Everything.
It's at different stages. We had different technological challenges. In the beginning, a bit more hardware challenges, AI, how to approach the entire problem. Then more software engineering challenges.
Data acquisition, something like that.
Data acquisition was not a problem, but actually preparing the data set and making it better, that was very time consuming to really have a very good data set to train our model with.
How do your models work? Do they work with only the recognition of specific elements within a picture, like the scan, or do you have something like contextualization within it as well? I'm asking because a different startup I know of, they're combining pattern recognition stuff with contextualization with large language models to make a better assessment for specific things. But your way, I guess, it's mostly.
We use a pre-trained model that we then fine-tune, or transfer learning would be the method on our data set. So, and during the training, data augmentation is used, but nothing besides that. We don't use generative AI in our machine. We only use generative AI when it comes to actually the labeling of the data. We label the data. We use we apply generative AI to support the labeling.
This is a super important thing, right? Because it does not need always to be a specific element of the actual product, but how to get to the product that you imagine to have this kind of technology available.
Yeah,
so that's super interesting. Next step would be a bit of the exist thing that you talked about. Like, this is the point where you think, hey, you're actually doing it, something is working. What was the prototype like that with you succeeded to convince the exist funding? What was the situation around that in general? Like, state of the technology, did you invest on your side? Did you make a change in your life, a personal life, like time investment or something like that? How was the situation?
So the master's thesis of Benedict, that was the basis that we used for the exist application. And during his master's thesis, he had a very simple proof of concept with different cameras, but he wanted to see if it is actually possible to really detect defects on the potatoes with an accuracy that is good enough. And that was the basis that we used for the exist scholarship. The second question was if we did change in our lives.
Yeah, did you change something, like the time you invest, for instance, when you are at the beginning of a project? Usually you have a job, you have something, a different job, you have maybe your thesis to work on or something like that. How do you see a bit of a change in your life in regard of time invest, in regard of how you manage your daily life in general? You have a child. How was it a difference? How do you manage these kind of things? Depends a bit on your personal life and the team, of course.
Benedict and me, we both quit our jobs.
The moment you got exist?
Yeah, well, 1 month before already.
Okay.
We both actually quit our jobs. And we were both working full time for other companies. Actually, I was on paternal leave still. And then I quit my job. And Johannes, he was still studying. And he actually finished his studies right before exist. And then he was this for Benedict and me, it was more the job, quitting our jobs, and for Johannes it was finishing university and starting with this project.
Was there a specific moment when you thought like, "Hey, this is really, really cool," and working with your solution?
Yeah, I mean, really, really cool. I mean, it's ups and downs. There were several moments where I was really proud what we achieved when I saw, okay, wow, it's now actually working. It does sort potatoes. It detects defects.
It
And
solves a problem.
it solves a problem, and the problem is real, and it's actually tangible. Like the problem that I like that it is actually hardware, or that it is a machine. You can see it. You can see what is happening.
Yeah.
You can see an effect, potatoes being kicked out. It's quite funny, actually.
Really, the scoring port, 6 scoring. Okay.
So yeah, this was actually very nice, and there were many little or smaller situations when we saw, okay, our model is really, really good, is performing even really, really well, and we overcame another challenge, and another challenge, and that is actually really nice. Or the front end, when the front end was working, and it's a very nice front end. I think it's. So that was also nice to see that, yeah, now you have a machine that is doing what it should be and has a nice, easy to use front end, and everything, is there.
Super interesting topics. I just need to figure out how I want to approach them. Before we go to the front end, because it's super interesting, I want to ask you something. The diversity in your team. You all are engineering backgrounds, very technical, at least at the way I see it.
Yeah.
The front end is always a bit of a problem when you lack a designer in your team. Did you experience it as well? How do you go there? Because you said you have a really nice front end. It sounds like something people want to use, they understand, and this is really hard to do.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how important the front end is, because the machine will be switched on and then start and boom, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know how one day the front end actually is going to be, but we actually work when students at the TU Munich who study informatics, computer science as a master's, they have to do a project during their studies for one semester. And so we actually have several students working with us through this channel called an IDP, what they have to do, an interdisciplinary project. And during the summer semester 2024, there was one student, Burak, who's actually now our first employee, and he is very he's a magician with computers. Well, he's really good, and he was the one who suggested to use the front end that we actually use right now. He has some experience working with front ends, and so he actually introduced it, and he also started with a bit with the design of it.
Yeah. Really cool, because the support that you can get from universities, from students, from these kind of is super important. They can actually help you a lot.
Yeah.
That's what we find out. It's like the ecosystem aspect of how we can help you. People from different universities, professors that could maybe introduce you to a student who thinks or she thinks is super cool. How did it happen that you were part of this program, basically?
So, I mean, we are part of the Venture Lab Food Agrobiotech of Unternehmertum, and so this is how we get access to the workshop in Freising, where we are working, and through this affiliation with Unternehmertum and then also with TU Munich, it makes it possible for us to find a supervisor for these IDPs and to identify the students. So we know more or less the channels where we have to announce, okay, now we have another IDP that students can apply for. And then we have a supervisor who can supervise the project. And so the belonging to this ecosystem is extremely helpful. It's very, very valuable. I don't even know where to start. I mean, we also got in touch with the consulting company Netlight. Netlight is an IT consulting company, and they also have an office here in Munich and then everywhere in the world. And through the TU Munich or through Unternehmertum, it was possible to collaborate with them. And we have been collaborating with them for almost 1.5 years now. And so they were very, very helpful when it came to, all kinds of software problems. So we could always ask them, and how should we do that? Do you have an idea? Do you know someone? Oh, yes, maybe. Okay. So, I mean, there are so many examples how the ecosystem was helpful. And there are so many resources that we can use because we are part of the ecosystem, or TU Munich or Unternehmertum.
All the others, we're helping each other out. Yeah, when the conventional labs have an issue, we can work with them to find someone and stuff like that. Super cool. I was wondering about your team's diversity. Do you see a bit of a lack of skill sets? You have had a student now helping you out with design aspects, at least how I figure it out. Or do you think, are you different kind of people? Do you work differently? Yeah, like this aspect. Do you see like, okay, maybe we miss someone for sales aspects, or do we miss someone for whatever? Or do you think you have a perfect alignment already? Just a general.
Yeah, I think it is actually important that all three of us are very technical. That is very helpful. But yeah, you're right that maybe in the field of marketing, sales is another completely different field then, but marketing is something that we are maybe lacking a bit. But we also here, we work together with students from the TU Munich, in this case, business students, and they also have to do something like a project study during their studies. And so one of them helped us a lot with developing the website and setting up HubSpot as CRM system and things like that. I mean, we knew more or less the elements that are missing and that we need. But it is also helpful if someone is already very interested in this topic to set up those things and help in these regards. Sales, we haven't really started with sales. This is going to be another challenge. Let's see.
We can get that in a moment. Yeah, where the next challenge is up ahead. Yeah, because So, but before we go into that, I want to go back to the farmers you're working with, or the people that provide you with feedback. Did you find any very extreme surprises? I thought you are in a special situation, as I said, with you actually had the farmers at your disposal. But was there some feedback input that made you develop things differently? Could it even be something like, we have never ever thought about sweet potatoes? I don't know what direction you go.
And there were never like huge surprises, but I also still have to write my thesis for my MBA. I didn't do that. I'm in the process of doing that.
Yeah.
And I actually just conducted a survey for that. And it was very interesting to see that by the way I framed the questions, or also what is on our website where we have some information, that we sometimes assume that we mentioned everything that is necessary for the farmers to understand what we do. But then based on the answers that I received from the survey, it was very obvious that we somehow forgot to mention things that we actually can do.
Yeah.
And the farmers thought we cannot do that. For example, they thought we could not sort by size or the form of potatoes, and for them it is very important, and for us we thought, okay, this is normal, everyone can do that, we don't have to mention this. But then we realized, no, we should mention it, and these were things that were very helpful. And then understanding let's call it the potato value chain, or is very, there's not one way how potatoes are being sold or processed, or the whole value chain is very diverse, even though it's only potatoes. And to get a better understanding on how this actually works, which farmer works together with which partner to sell their potatoes, who does direct to consumer sales, who sells directly to supermarkets, what are challenges there, that was helpful. Yeah.
While doing a bit of research into your product and the whole idea, like to realize something very basic, like sorting is not easy, because you need to go into this. What I learned there was like you need to be perfectly aligned with size, color, whatever for the specific potatoes when you want to sell them, and they can go back to you if you did not do it the correct way. But you're an expert in this kind of stuff, yeah? So how precise do you actually need to be?
So we from our tests we found out that humans have an accuracy. Accuracy is a difficult term in AI, but let's say they have an accuracy of 80%, more or less, and so we thought this is the benchmark, and we are at 90%. So we thought, okay, this is how precise we have to be for our target group, which are farms who are small or medium scaled and who often do direct to consumer sales. So they have shops on their farms.
Okay.
So you can buy the product directly at the farm, and many people just go to the farm and buy the product. So they have a very close relationship to their customers. So for them, it is very important to have high quality products that they sell, because they interact directly with customers. But still, even when farmers sell it to supermarkets, the quality also has to be very high. They have very high demands when they deliver it to supermarkets. So the quality has to be, the precision of our machine has to be high.
Are there any regulations regarding EU and stuff like that, or?
There are regulations, yes, and that we also try to. Sorting by quality is not like a yes or no thing. It's sometimes it says, okay, a certain percentage of the surface has to, if more than 10% of something is covered with a certain defect, it has to be sorted out. But sometimes it's not that easy to see for humans, for AI. For example, when you look at greening, it's not like this is where greening starts or where it ends. So it's not like a hard 0 or 1 decision. It's a quality, and so. But yeah, there are regulations, but the customer feedback is probably even more severe than the regulations themselves.
I can imagine. Yeah, really cool. So let's get to the situation of that you're going to the Netherlands, at the border, where you were setting up your first product, basically. If I get it right?
Yeah.
What's the situation there?
So Benedict and Johannes went there on Monday. Our machine, which is very heavy, 500 kilograms altogether, was already transported there last Friday. They just took the computers and the cameras. So the machine will be set up in some kind of showroom of a dealer, but not like a fancy showroom where you like the ones of a car dealership with fancy Mercedes. Is a bit more hands on, less sophisticated, less fancy showroom. But yeah, and then the machine is being set up there, and the idea is that this machine is there to be demonstrated to potential customers.
Yeah. So what would be your ideal result of this event?
The ideal result is to have to strengthen the partnership with the dealer and to start production, actually. Yeah. So
do you know how to handle the production yet? Or it's a hardware component. It's always not.
Well, we try to exclude all hardware parts to the dealer.
Yeah.
The more difficult, let's say, these questions are outsourced to the dealer. We hope we have set up everything on the software side so that we can actually easily scale, that we have automated already how to set up our machine, our system. I mean, certainly there will be bumps in the road, but we already tried when we set up the system for the machine that we put in the showroom of the dealer. We already tried to set it up in a way that we can easily replicate this and automate the setup of everything. So this was, also why it took quite a long time.
Yeah, but you're really looking forward to it and see what results.
Definitely. Also a bit afraid, but because going into production, selling things is something else than just developing it.
Yeah.
So definitely different challenges. I'm looking forward to it, but I cannot deny that I'm also a bit, I don't know, afraid or nervous.
Yeah, excited.
Thanks for joining us for the first part of this episode. We hope you enjoyed the discussion so far. If you're ready to keep the conversation going, part 2 is already available right here in the playlist. We appreciate you listening, and we can't wait to have you back for the rest of the story.